Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Engineering and Technology, SOET, Postgraduate Diploma in Industrial Safety, PGDINDS. Semester 2, MIS 025 Industrial Project Management. The production figures showing up inefficiency on the part of the manager. Talking close to the employees revealed that angry employees, treated crudely by the manager, fed him symbolically to a log shredding machine, thereby purposely destroying good sheets of veneer. In a copper mine, the conveyor belt tripped very frequently, disrupting the workflow. Tired of getting it repaired again and again, the manager talked to the employees. He came to know the overworked employees tripped the belt for a rest. To overcome the fatigue, it is important to study human behavior at work. This becomes clear when you hear what some managers have to say. My employees always turn out poor quality work. In my organization, employees are leaving all the time. Much money, added effort is wasted in recruiting people again and again. Our employees are threatening to go on strike if the work is computerized. The urge to study and understand human behavior at work, sometimes also called human relations, organizational behavior, etc., is on the increase. Because people experience many problems as mentioned above. To understand human behavior in organizational settings, it is necessary to draw on a number of social disciplines, namely psychology, sociology, social psychology, economics, political science, etc. Discipline theme of inquiry level of analysis. Psychology: what motivates people? How do values and attitudes affect human individual behavior? Sociology: how to socialize a new employee? How to handle conflict and collaboration in organizations? Political science: how is power allocated in organizations? Why do informal leaders arise in organizations? How do people communicate with each other? How do groups become cohesive? How are informal leaders effective? Economics: how can productivity of organization be measured? Should government set price controls? Environment: what is labor productivity? How market forces influence productivity? We are concerned with the study of human behavior at work because we want to focus on productivity from the standpoint of human performance. We have invested our time, effort and money in recruiting people. And we would like them to stay with the organization and contribute to the organization rather than leave the organization with discontent. Committed and motivated people in the organization can give good suggestions for improvement of work methods, plant layout, substitution of costly raw material with that of low cost, upgrade the quality of the product and image of the company, leading to improved productivity, prosperity and quality of life in the community. Through the study of human behavior at work, we learn numerous ideas about needs, values, and attitudes of people, how to communicate and influence them, how to build cohesive work teams and how to cope with problems that employees may have at work. It must be noted that studying and predicting human behavior is not as easy as many managers at the beginning of their career assume, because needs, attitudes and values vary from person to person and with the same person vary from time to time. The realization that managing people is far more difficult, complex, as well as important comes with experience. The author who interacts with personnel across the board, with chairmen, managing directors at one end of the spectrum and shop floor employees at the other, found that the higher a person reaches in the organizational hierarchy, greater is the above realization. Before Industrial Revolution, people did not feel the need to study human behavior. Thought here were few large organizations like religion, military, and government. The customs or traditions during the early days being strong, human behavior was very well regulated. Life was simple and uncomplicated. Frederick W. Taylor, the father of scientific management, was the first one to show interest in people at work. He said, Just as there is a best machine for a job, there are best ways for people to do their jobs. Lillian Gilbreth in her book, The Psychology of Management, 1992, an important milestone, emphasized the human side of work. In 1920s and 1930s, Elton Mayo and F.J. Roethlisberger at Harvard University gave academic status to the study of human behavior at work. Their experiments at Western Electronic Company, Hawthorne plant clearly brought out that organization is a social system and worker is not a simple tool, but a complex personality interacting in group situation which is often very difficult to understand and predict. Elton Mayo is referred to as father of Human Relations School. Human Relations School grew so fast with the work at Research Center for Group Dynamics, University of Michigan, Personnel Research Board, Ohio State University, Tavistock Institute of Human Relations in London etc., that it was largely misunderstood and emphasized as being nice to people while subtly trying to manipulate employees. Therefore, the term human relations gradually lost favor and was replaced with the organization behavior, with increasing emphasis on research and training from various social disciplines. Objectives. After studying this unit, you should be able to conceptualize the importance of human behavior at work. Appreciate that each employee is a person with multiple needs, values, attitudes, which have a bearing on his behavior. Explain the theories of work motivation. Describe the interpersonal communication and relationships in the organizations. Discuss dynamics of intrapersonal and group processes and develop an appreciation of human problems at work. 4.2 UNDERSTANDING. A person. Each individual is unique with regard to his personality, attitudes, values. The need patterns, aspiration and ability vary from one individual to another. Each person has a personality who is a unique combination of characteristics. Many of the characteristics are learned and a few are inherited. Ramu's mother insisted that Ramu go to school every day on time and do his homework completely and regularly. Ramu, when he grew, had a good work ethic. Venkatesh was short in height. All his schoolmates made fun of his short height. The big and tall boys bullied him. Venkat developed an inferiority complex and had low self-confidence in later years. Any attempt to learn why people behave as they do in organization requires some understanding of individual personality. Personality can be discussed more specifically as how a person affects others, how he understands and views himself and his pattern of inner and outer measurable traits. Another definition, personality is a vehicle to integrate perception, learning value and attitudes and thus to understand the total person. Personality is the result of heredity, environment and the situation. Understanding of personality is very important because by determining what characteristics will make for effective job performance, personnel selection can be done. By understanding people and their personalities, cost-effective hiring, placement, transfer, and formation decisions can be taken. Activities show how one feels about something. Attitudes are a way of responding either favorably or unfavorably to objects, persons, concepts etc. Attitudes are related to behavior. One is not born with attitudes but learns them through experiences. It has three components: knowledge, e.g., cigarettes exist; feeling, e.g., it is pleasurable to smoke; action, e.g., I smoke cigarettes. Attitudes cannot be directly observed. Attitudes have to be inferred from behavior, actions. Attitudes can be measured through questionnaires, interviews etc., using questions and response scales, like the following. Q. How much do you like your work? Please tick. Very much, somewhat, very little, hate it. Response. In the organizations, the attitudes of employees toward their work, job, and organization are very important. Does the employee like his work? Does he like the term dollar and conditions connected with the work? Does he like the organizational procedure, practices, culture etc.? Is he committed? All these attitudes make an important difference to performance, productivity, absenteeism, and turnover. As attitudes are learned, they can be changed through persuasion, training, etc. However, they are slow to change because of deep-seated values that each person has. Values represent basic convictions that a specific mode of conduct or end state, of instance, is personally or socially preferable to an opposite or converse order of conduct or end state of existence. Values are influenced from behavior and expressed attitudes. Values can also be measured like the attitude. Values can be classified into categories using social bases. They could be I, terminal, and E, instrumental. Terminal values relate to the end state to be achieved, e.g., comfortable life and higher education, etc. Instrumental values relate to means for achieving desired ends, e.g., honesty, violence, etc. Based on the values that people possess, managers should obtain a good fit between person, work, and organization. Type of value, nature of work, suitable, theoretical, discovery of truth rationally, research, economic, useful and practical, immediately useful and quantifiable, e.g., manufacturing cars, social, love of people, connected with people, public relations, marketing, political, power and influence, public relations, supervising, managing. The needs can be classified as primary or secondary. Primary needs. Needs, like food, water, air, sleep, are called primary, and needs like sense of belongingness, self-esteem, which operate at mental level, are called secondary. Secondary needs are conditioned by experience, are subject to change in the same individual from time to time. Work in groups rather than alone, are often hidden from conscious recognition, and are vague feelings instead of specific physical needs. Abraham Maslow proposed a need hierarchy of 5 levels as shown in Figure 4.1. The 5 levels are 1. Physical needs, e.g., air, water, food, sex, etc. 2. Safety and security needs, e.g., secure job, savings, plan needs for future, etc. 3. Social and belonging needs, e.g., friends, club membership, etc. 4. Status needs, e.g., recognition, promotion, etc. 5. Self-actualization need, becoming all that one is capable of becoming. Using one's skill to the fullest and stretching talents to the maximum. Motivational factors, satisfies. Motivational factors, satisfies are those factors, the presence of which improves the performance of the people to a higher level performance, but their absence makes the employees neutral. Based on the earlier need models, Clayton Alderfer proposed a modified need hierarchy of just 3 levels. A. Existence needs, e.g., physiological and security needs. R. Related needs, e.g., relations with people. G. Growth needs, e.g., desire for self-esteem and self-actualization. Alderfer's ERG model is more practical and consistent with research findings. It does not assume a rigorous hierarchy. All the 3 levels may be active at the same time. A person frustrated at higher order needs can return to a lower order need. 1. The first 2 levels are somewhat limited in their requirements for satisfaction. The growth needs, on the other hand, are not only unlimited, but grow from one level to another. 2. Specificity. Goals have to be specific, clear and measurable. 3. Challenge. Goals should be sufficiently difficult but not so difficult that they are not achievable. Easy goals do not motivate people. 4. Feedback. Performance feedback, telling employees how successful they are, is a powerful motivational tool. 4.3 Communication and interpersonal relations. Communication is the transfer of information and understanding from one person to another. For instance, in the organization, the chairman addresses an open house of all the employees, manager gives instruction to his subordinates. An employee relates his grievance to his boss, a supervisor gives performance feedback to his subordinate. Process of communication consists of following 8 steps. 1. Ideation, develop an ideal data. 2. Encode, put the order in communication symbols, such as words, picture and non-verbal clues. 3. Transmission, getting it across, using various communication methods and audiovisual media. 4. Reception, to get the message, information. 5. Decode, understanding the transmitted signals. 6. Accept, receiver may fully or partially accept the message, using his own filter perception. 7. Use, receiver may or may not act upon the message. Information. 8. Provide feedback to sender, acknowledge the receipt of the message. Potential problems in communication. A person who receives information incompatible with his value system's prior decisions or other information that he already has experiences an internal conflict called cognitive dissonance. To reduce the dissonance which is uncomfortable to live with, people may reject the new communication. Human emotions, values, poor listening habits, psychological and emotional distance can distort communications. Sudden distractions, noise, distance between people, poor ecological control, poor seating arrangements can prevent communication reaching effectively. Semantic barriers arise from limitations in taking in the symbols with which we communicate. Symbols usually have a variety of meanings leading to misunderstanding. Many words have multiple meanings. A standard library dictionary reports 110 different meanings for the popular word, round, containing 23 adjective, 42 noun, 16 verb, 13 prepositions, and 16 adverb. For example, go for a round of tennis. Get a round dozen of cakes. Purchase a round of beef. Round up the thieves. Go all round the world. Though no words are spoken, what people do say, a handshake or a smile or people do not say, FA11 to praise when the job is well done, failing to provide promised resources also communicates effectively. For example, practice communications more effectively than preaching. A manager may preach punctuality, but if he himself is not punctual, his practice of being unpunctual has a far greater impact on the punctuality of his employees. Socialization is the process by which an individual adapts himself to working environment. Employee learn new values, attitudes, goals, means to achieve these goals, accepted ways of behaving in the organization. Socialization is continuous throughout the person's career path, and as he climbs the organizational ladder, he has to unlearn some of his earlier attitudes and learn new norms, values and attitudes to be successful at each stage. SAQ2. A. What in your opinion are some of the important interpersonal skills? B. Describe the various steps involved in process of communication. 4.4 Theories of work motivation. A person's behavior is caused by his needs. Needs cannot be directly observed, but have to be inferred from behavior. A manager's job is to identify employees' needs, drives and channel their behavior toward task performance. Figure 4.2. Look at the screen. According to Maslow, employees rise more enthusiastically motivated by what they are seeking than by what they already have. People move up the need hierarchy for the satisfaction of their needs from the lower to the higher. Hertzberg identified two kinds of factors that have a bearing on motivation. He called them maintenance factors and motivational factors. They also go by the name hygiene factors and satisfiers. Maintenance, hygiene factors are those factors the presence of which does not lead to high motivation, but their absence demotivates the employees, e.g. working conditions, pay, company rules, job security etc. Motivational drives. Each person tends to develop certain motivational drives as a product of the cultural environment in which that person lives. David McClelland of Harvard University worked extensively on these patterns of motivation. His exposition of drives for achievement, affiliation, power and competence is an important factor in the current attempts to attain high quality products and service. Achievement drive, a drive to overcome challenges, advance and grow. Affiliation drive, a drive to relate to people effectively. Competence drive, a drive to do high quality work. Power drive, a drive to influence people and situations. Goal setting as a motivation tool is most effective when four elements are present. Goal acceptance. Employees through participation process should accept the goals. Very often contents provide meaning to words partially through social clues, like job titles, pattern of dress. Communication is to the organization what blood is to the body. The body collapses if the blood does not flow, and similarly, organization collapses when communication is ineffective. Communication to be effective has to be in all directions, i.e. downward, upward, horizontal and external as shown in Table 4.1. Table 4.1, Communication Flow in Organizations. Look at the screen. Employees who play a major role in horizontal communication are referred to as boundary spanners. They meet the people across the department and perform the important function of coordination. Organizational communication has flow patterns or networks. A network is a system of several points of communication for the purpose of decision making. Extensive network research has revealed that wheel and all channel networks are most effective and circle the least effective. The more the number of links, the greater the satisfaction to the members. Following are some of the organizational communication networks. The quality of interpersonal relationship is largely affected by the way the parties relate to each other. The ability to create, develop and maintain relationship depends upon the way a person listens, questions, cares and responds to others. In order to develop a close and binding relationship, parties too must expose themselves to each other so they can really come to know each other. Joseph Luft and Henry Ingham, Johari, from their first initials, put forth a conceptual model that shows how people expose themselves to others and receive feedback from others in their interpersonal relationships. Johari window has following four parts. Arena, parts of personality known to self and others, public and open. Blind spot, feelings and reactions known to others but unknown to self. Closed, hidden information, motives, feelings or known only to self. Dark, undiscovered potential and creative resources known neither to the self nor the others. Implications of the model. A. If arena is small, scope for good interpersonal relations is low. B. If arena is large, scope for good and healthy interpersonal relations is more, as it enables the people to have mutual expectation based on reality. C. It is difficult to reduce blind spot because self-concept protection mechanisms are involved. To widen the arena, people should seek interpersonal feedback and disclose self as much as possible to enable to develop expectations about other persons and have good interpersonal relations. Interpersonal feedback can be useful only when it is intended to help the recipient. It is descriptive rather than evaluative, specific rather than general, backed by data and recent incidents. It concerns the factors over which recipient has some control, and it is received by the recipient in a mood to listen. A cooperative relationship can be built only when it satisfies the needs and expectations of the participants. It should be based on mutual trust. An equal risk is taken in self-disclosure by both the participants. Both the participants should have empathy and the ability to view the problem from the confrontee's perspective. 4.5 Group processes. A manager to be effective should understand group process and their effects on organizational performance. Groups shape the work pattern of organizations and influence the attitudes and behavior of members regarding their jobs. Groups develop their own values and norms as well as behavior. Organizations function best when members act not as individuals but as members of highly effective work groups. A group has a common goal, a sense of belongingness and identify, and norms, values and an agreed structure for mutual interaction. All groups develop their own norms, e.g. not to be a squealer, not to report to management against a coworker, Not to be officious, not to quote rules and act tough. Not to be a chiseler, not to shirk work. Not to hear rate buster, not to produce very high. To maintain and implement norms, groups have their own sanctions. Some group sanctions: ostracizing, other members stop talking with the concerned member. Hiding tools, not allowing him to work. Sarcasm, to upset the person's equilibrium. Damage the, to make the worker ineffective in the eyes of the. Work done management. Groups could be small or large, cohesive or loose, and formal or informal. Formal groups are those groups set up to achieve specific organizational objectives with defined roles and are fairly permanent in nature, e.g. task forces, work groups. Informal groups are based on personal relationship and agreement of group members than on defined role relationships. Informal groups satisfy members' affiliation and other social motivation which are lacking at the work situation. An informal leader is a person who reflects attitudes and values of group member, helps to resolve conflicts arising in the group situation, leads the group in achieving goals, liaises with management or people outside the group. Groups are formed because they satisfy the needs of the members. Some of the reasons why groups are formed as follows: to pool resources and expertise of members, to modify formal working arrangements through collusion, to fulfill some of the social needs of the members, to give a sense of belongingness and identity to members, to give security and protection in case of trouble. Groups can be very cohesive or loose. Some of the factors which influence groups are as follows: A. Size, larger the size, lesser the cohesiveness. B. Compatibility, greater the compatibility, greater the cohesiveness. C. Permanence of group members, frequent turnover of members cannot lead to cohesiveness. D. Nature of task, a challenging common goal increases cohesiveness. Assembly line kind of disparate work does not build cohesiveness. A. Physical setting, isolated chambers, cubicles do not build cohesiveness. Open, face-to-face seating arrangements can build cohesiveness. F. Quality of communication, free and open communication as well as face-to-face communication can build cohesiveness. G. Style of leadership, supportive and participatory style management can build cohesiveness. H. Success, success of a group increases pride in membership which in turn increases cohesiveness. I. External threat, a perceived threat of competition to company or a new head appointed can increase the employee cohesiveness. Power and authority. Power is the ability to get things done, an ability to achieve goals. It has an important role in all walks of life. People who do not occupy authoritative positions sometimes are able to get a desirable position for their favored person, get favored people transferred to their department, get a larger increase in budget for their own department. Authority is prescribed by the formal hierarchy and it is associated with one position. Power can be exercised in all directions, while formal authority can be exercised only in downward direction. Authority has following three characteristics. A. It is invested in organizational positions and does not come from personal characteristics. B. Authority is accepted by the subordinates who comply because they perceive that position holders have a legitimate right to exercise authority. C. It flows down the vertical hierarchy. Authority exists along the formal chain of command and positions at the top of the hierarchy are invested with more formal authority than positions at the bottom. A manager's personal assistant, PA, did not turn up for work. He needed an official report to be dispatched immediately. He requested his superior's PA to type the report. The PA refused, saying that his own boss had given him a lot of work. The manager said it was a departmental report and it just had to be done. The PA did not oblige. In the meanwhile, a senior worker, who did not belong to the department, came and requested the same PA to type a personal request, to he sent to the management. The PA complied immediately. In the above example, The personal power of the senior worker had far more influence than the position power of the manager. The managers, as they have more and more experience, increasingly realize that authority does not always work. External forces like increasing educational aspiration levels of people, increasingly sophisticated technology have changed relationships in the organization. Power cannot be gained simply through one's position in the organizational hierarchy. Among other things, one's expertise, personal qualities, style, access to key information, and an ability to provide or withhold rewards determine one's power in a given situation. Depending on the basis on which power is exercised, power can be categorized into several following types: reward power, ability to give rewards; coercive power, ability to punish; personal power, ability to attract people through personal qualities, sometimes also called charismatic power; expert power, authority of knowledge based on specialized learning, education, training, and experience; political power, power that arises from the ability of a person to work with groups and social systems to gain their allegiance and support; legitimate power, also called position power, the power which in the organizational hierarchy has given people accept this power as they believe it is necessary to maintain order; problem solving, ability to solve critical problems for the power organization. Each organization has some trouble shooters with a clout. The total pattern of communication, action of a manager as perceived by his employee is called the manager's leadership style. It also includes the philosophy, skills, and attitudes that the manager possesses. The style of a manager can be decreased from the basis of motivation and power orientation of the manager towards tasks and people. The style basically arises from the philosophy a person holds about how people should be led. In 1957, Douglas McGregor, in his book, Human Side of Enterprise, put forth an idea that management philosophy controls practice, decision-making. While Theory X is a traditional set of assumptions about people, Theory Y implies a more human and supportive approach to managing people. The assumption under Theory X and Theory Y are tabulated below. Theory X, Theory Y: a typical person dislikes work and will avoid it. Work is as natural as play or rest. A typical person does not seek responsibility, has little ambition, and seeks security. People are not inherently lazy. They have become that way as a result of experience. Most people must be coerced, controlled, and threatened with punishment to get them to work to which they are committed. People will exercise direction and self-control to achieve objectives. People have tremendous potential. Under proper conditions, they learn to accept and seek responsibilities. They have imagination, ingenuity, and creativity that can be applied to work. With the above assumption, the managerial role is to develop the potential in employees and help them realize their potential toward common objectives. McGregor recommends that people should give up Theory X model of assumptions not based on facts about people but assume Theory Y about people, and that can bring out better commitment and performance from people. Many different classifications, leadership style based on use of rewards, power, emphasis on consideration vs structure have been proposed. A leadership style is either positive or negative, depending on the approach. If the approach emphasizes rewards, economic or otherwise, it is called positive leadership. With increasing emphasis on education and preference for independence, then is increasing accent on positive leadership. On the other hand, negative leadership places emphasis on penalties such as loss of job. The accent is acting domineering and superior with people. Based on use of power on style of leadership can also vary. It could be autocratic at one end of the spectrum and entirely free rein at the other end. What follows now are different classifications of leadership style. Autocratic, power and decision-making is centralized. The leader assumes full power and authority and also the task, with little consideration for the needs of the people. The approach is negative based on threats and punishment. Benevolent, the leader with the style also assumes full power and autocratic authority and the task but shows consideration to the needs of the people. Participation, power and decision making are decentralized. Decisions based on consultations and participation with a supportive attitude. Free rein leaders avoid power and responsibility. The leader behaves as if he does not exist. Group establishes its own goals and works out its own problem. 4.6 Employee problems at work. Some human beings experience problems from time to time. Alcoholism, drug abuse, tardiness, chronic absenteeism etc. are only symptoms of same deep-seated psychological problems. Employee also experiences stress due to hectic pace of work, conflicting demands on him, dissatisfying work, poor working conditions, a change in technology, change in organizational structure, change in leadership etc. Individuals' routine and repetitive nature of work extended over a long time. Alienated employees do not tend to be productive. Employees with problems show distress symptoms, lack of concentration, absenteeism, poor performance, poor quality work, accidents, quarrels on the shop floor, imaginary grievances etc. Managers can help the employees through active listening and counseling. Catharsis of the frustration and negative feelings of the employed experiencing problems can be obtained by active listening, which involves paying full attention, removal distraction, telephone, doodling etc. Seeking clarifications wherever necessary. Empathizing, putting himself in the position of employee. Summing up and asking, have I understood you correctly? Counseling is the power of discussing the problem of the employee with him, to help him to clarify the problem, find the root cause of the problem as well as to help the employee to find solutions to the problem. Counseling can be directive, non-directive or cooperative. In directive counseling, the counselor leads the discussion by asking questions. In non-directive counseling, subject is allowed to develop spontaneously. In cooperative counseling, counselor combines both the directive and non-directive methods. Counseling should be done in such a manner that employee develops the knowledge, ability and skills to cope with his problems. Employees should not be allowed to become dependent on the counselor, managers. 4.7 Summary. From this unit one learns how the interest in studying human behavior at work developed, how it became interdisciplinary over the years. The unit also focuses on personality, values, attitudes, needs, drives and how they have a bearing on human behavior. The unit explains the process of communication, the role of communication in the organization and describes ways of improving interpersonal skills. In explaining the group process, the unit focuses on the rationale of groups, group norms and group sanctions, formal and informal groups, how to maintain group cohesiveness, discuss the importance of power and authority in organizations, kinds of power and leadership steps, how competition and collaboration can be made use of in building good teams. Lastly, the unit discusses employee problems at work and how the manager can help the employee through active listening and counseling. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.